what's happening in healthcare, politics, and how to deal with it all. It's time for Political Pulse with Dr. Tony Maglione on 106.7 My Talker Radio.
Welcome to Political Pulse. I'm Dr. Tony Maglione. I'm the doctor that's looking out both for your health and this nation's health. This is the new 106.7 FM My Talker Radio. The number here at the station is 833-8764. Now, we're going to start off with a special guest, Jude Eden, who is the one who has gotten together this town hall meeting for Obamacare defunding, and we welcome her here. And we'll just start by saying hello and asking her just a little bit about why did you get this set up in the first place? What motivated you to do that?
Well, thank you for having me. And a few months ago, some friends approached me and said, you know, you're really involved in politics and grassroots conservatism, and introduced me to the Heritage Action Sentinel program. And that's just sort of doing more of the same with the support of the Heritage Foundation, and Heritage Action is their sister organization.
They've been doing some of these town hall meetings in other places throughout the country and just trying to encourage more and more people to get
They're
involved.
on a tour, I think it's 12 cities of Obamacare town halls, and that was just one of the suggestions just before everybody went on recess. And I thought, well, I could get that started. Because
this momentum didn't really start, this idea of defunding it didn't even get going to the last few months. It just kind of started.
And Ted Cruz was really the one who started it, and Mike Lee signed on, and it expanded from there. But the people, you know, they're packing these town halls, these heritage town halls that are going on. And
so this is going to be more of a grassroots movement, because let's face it, Boehner's pretty much stated, and a lot of some senators and other people in the House have stated that they are not going to vote to defund because they don't want to shut down the government, because somehow it'll make it look bad for their party and for them individually.
Right. They're just making their own defeatist argument so they don't have to fight the battle. I think it's a big fat red herring is what I've been saying again and again.
So they have to be reminded that this is not just about their political career or their party.
Defunding Obamacare does not have to shut down the government. It doesn't have to have anything to do with that. We don't have an umbrella budget. If we did, you know, they might be all at once kind of a thing where you couldn't separate them, but we don't have a budget. So they could pass a budget in the beginning of September to fund the government, fund certain things no matter what, and then do Obamacare
parts
separately.
Of that out. Right. I've had suggested before, and I've done it on this program, where they should put some stipulations, like we're not going to give money to the IRS, policing, you know, the people who have the individual mandate that have to buy insurance until we settle some of the issues of them not allowing the Tea Party and the Patriots to get, you know, their tax breaks. Some of the things that they did that probably are illegal, that they get away with because being protected.
They absolutely are illegal.
And that somehow I just don't understand why the people in Congress on the right don't do that.
I know,
at the level
it's
of the House.
handed to them on a silver platter to go to town, and they should be pit bulls on it, and they just won't do it. And ironically, if they would be pit bulls on it, they would. You know, they're so concerned about money in their careers, their political careers, and yet, you know, they jeopardize their careers by being spineless on these issues, and they're also, you know, spineless on the defund Obamacare. But that's what the people want. We now have over 70% of the U.S. population that understands that Obamacare is a bad idea. And so putting this town hall together was about getting people together, getting our voices heard, reinforcing each other and ourselves. And, you know, all it took was, you know, phone calls saying, hey, would you be willing to
get involved
to speak as a doctor on Obamacare? You know, if you would, then I can reserve that room at the library. And it's really as easy as that to get it. Any individual can get something like that started. And because it's such a hot topic and it's so important to so many people, and we're sitting here going, to the representatives, why aren't you listening? No town halls. None of them are holding any town halls. Not Hagan, not Byrd, not McIntyre. And they say, oh, well, we'll be talking to our constituents in other ways. And then they don't tell you what those other ways are.
We need to put pressure on them in a way that they
Absolutely.
understand.
And that's what this is about. You gather people and your voices become amplified,
Now, for me, it's very simple. We have to get the education out there so that the grassroots movement that really did 2010 and changed, how the House was constructed. They didn't have the majority where they can do everything, which resulted in the passage of Obamacare.
People woke up, they got angry, and they
and
used their votes. They used their sovereignty, their individual sovereignty.
But then eventually they went back into the background. The thing is, we have to start a movement that understands that this whole thing is just the beginning of a battle.
It's
that
even
if we don't win,
game.
And somehow they manage through other ways of appropriating money for parts of Obamacare and they get things going, that it's a battle. We have to win the war because this really involves not a political thing like we talked about this morning. This involves all Americans. All
Right.
Americans have health care, regardless of party. And if it's a bad bill and it's going to hurt people and in the long run might kill some of them early, besides making our country financially ruined or going towards a place where we're going to be much, much weaker as a nation, we have to let them know we're not going to stop.
Absolutely.
And that's going to be the difference from 2010 because it seems they took the air out of the Tea Party movement and the grassroots movement. After we won, we said, okay, we're going to coast. We're going to get somebody else in there in 2012.
Right.
And all of a sudden, we end up not winning 2012.
Like it's a flash in the pan. For a lot of people, it's not a flash in the pan, but it's you get this fatigue, and it can be difficult when you suffer losses like 2012, or if your candidate doesn't win, in your area or whatever, that can cause you to have some doubt. But that's just part of it. And what I think I would want to communicate to people is we all go through that, but if you reach out to others, you can spell each other.
Right.
When I get fatigued and I kind of, I'm not writing
Right.
for a
And
while
the more
or
people
whatever,
you get,
and then
the better it's going to be.
You can pace yourselves,
Right.
and each can relieve kind of the other in your low points, or fortify each other when you get to a low point. Keep going, keep fighting.
We're at a point in our history that this is going to test men and women. Mm-hmm. These are the times that test men and women. Thomas Paine said that back in 1776. We have to be tested and be willing to give everything to get this country going back in the right direction.
Right.
Healthcare is going in the wrong direction. 84% of doctors know that. They've been polled, surveyed.
It has bipartisan opposition now.
50%.
And why aren't the representatives listening? We're going to have this town hall next Tuesday night at the New Hanover County Library from 6 to 8 p.m. to voice those things and to make ourselves heard. And
we're inviting every party, anybody from any association. The fact
Absolutely.
is, we want to convince people. Anybody. We don't care if you're Democrat, Independent, that defunding Obamacare is the right thing to do.
Right. Come with questions. It's going to be, very informational, but half of those 2 hours is going to be Q&A, so people can ask their questions and get more information, or if there's a point they don't understand or they disagree with, we can discuss it.
Okay, well, we'll be back to discuss a little bit more of this. You're listening to Political Pulse. This is Dr. Tony Maglione, the new 106.7 FM My Talker Radio. Welcome back to Political Pulse. I'm Dr. Tony Maglione. This is the new 106.7 FM My Talker Radio. The number here is 833-8764. We have with us in studio Jude Eden, who organized a town hall meeting, is part of I would call the younger generation. And just like you to talk a little bit about the guests that are speaking at this town hall meeting next Tuesday night at 6 o'clock.
Sure. Well, we have a variety of people. You, of course, as a doctor on Obamacare and the negative impacts, we have Dr. Greg Brannon, who's running for Congress. in North Carolina, and he's a doctor. He's got 18 years of experience, OBGYN. We have Jason Thigpen, who is also running for Congress in the 3rd District, and he is he's an Iraq War veteran, and he's heavily involved with veteran and military groups in North Carolina, and started one called the Student Veterans Advocacy Group. So he'll be talking from a veteran's perspective. We also have Patty Curran. She's a mother and has special needs children. They're chronically ill and require constant and special care. And she's an activist who's been writing and has even made videos talking in detail about what Obamacare has cost her family and what
Already, that's
already
even before it's fully
direct implementation, right? We also just got Colonel Francis DeLuca, who's the president of Civitas. We have Claude Pope, who is the NCGOP chair. He's going to be talking about the NCGOP's resolution to defund Obamacare. He's also a small business owner, so from an entrepreneurial and business perspective.
And he was just at a national meeting with a lot of other Republicans
in Boston, right?
And if they
passed it unanimously,
if they signed it and did it unanimously, we've got about 280, give or take one, in Congress of Republicans. Mm-hmm. Why can't they just be unified on this and say we're going to stand together on this?
Right.
We're going to try to do it without, as you say, without stopping the government flow to other things in our economy that we need to keep going, like the military and all the other essential services we have, and just do it towards Obamacare and just find a way to do that. I mean, these are elected officials. They make the laws. The House, which is dominated by the Republicans, should be able to do that and then put in the lap of Senator Reid and the president.
Make them say no to it.
Let them say no.
If they say no, that's fine, but that's them. And we have the separation of powers, and it's sort of infuriating that it's a canard that conservatives want a government shutdown, defund Obamacare, and we're willing to risk a government shutdown. That's not it. That's what the left is saying we want. And the Republicans are then taking that argument and going with it.
They
and
think
that's
they're
ridiculous.
Going to score some political points that somehow the perception is that
our opposition,
that the Republicans did something bad. Actually, what the Republicans are trying to do is something good.
Right.
And sometimes you got to take a stand and do what's right to get something good. Sometimes there has to be sacrifices. We've had, in the course of our history in this country, people making sacrifices. We had a civil war to keep the country unified at one point.
Right.
We had lots of things that we've done through world wars and other things we've got involved with where we've asked generations to make some sacrifices. Mm-hmm. This is a time we're going to have to decide, do we want no money left over for the children and grandchildren and future generations, and the health care to be so bad?
It's going to impact people right away. It's not even going to take that long.
Well, for Obamacare, yes.
Once this is
quick.
Implemented, people are going to see it right away, and we already know what's going to happen. Your full-time hours are now 29 hours a week. Everybody knows what that means, especially those, who work on an hourly basis. Everybody understands what that means.
It means that instead of taking a nice vacation once a year, it'll be every 4 years. I mean, your quality of life is going to go down. Instead of buying a $30,000 car, you're going to have to buy the $15,000 car. I mean, the bottom line is everything's going to get cut down by a quarter or a third.
Well, I mean,
and that's
for people
not
who are
a dream.
Who are working on an hourly wage, 40 hours a week to make ends meet, and you can work a 40-hour work week and still be working like paycheck to paycheck to pay for your living expenses and everything. And you don't have to be. You could be driving a $15,000 car, and now you're going to have to, buy a clunker.
You have to bring back the old Yugo that they used to put together by clay.
Right. You're going to be like, oh, cash for clunkers. I wish I had my clunker back.
I know. It's true. Now, some of the speakers, Dr. Greg Brandon just basically got involved politically this year. As you said, he's an obstetrician. Right. He has, I think, 7 kids.
Yep.
And and he sounds like he's, a constitutionalist, a conservative.
So. Yeah.
And
he's a very strong conservative from what I've seen.
I'm hoping he could bring about, his experience in the obstetrician field as to how that's going to have an impact. As you know, Obamacare, which wasn't supposed to have dollars going into abortions, is, around, circuitously is doing that by giving money to Planned Parenthood, and by, Planned Parenthood's money has also doubled almost since Obama has been in office. And, most of their money, we know what that goes for.
Right.
And so Obamacare
it's like
just
85%.
Yeah, and Planned Parenthood just got a little bit of money to be the navigators, as to tell people how to get into the program, how to get on the exchanges.
Because it's so complex and difficult, it's gonna be worse than the tax system, basically.
They're spending
as bad or worse.
millions and millions of dollars on this. And you said Jason Thigpen, who is a veteran.
Right.
Let's talk about the VA. We already have a system that doesn't work well, where the government is in control. It's very good if you're healthy. It's very good to get your blood work, to see a doctor once a year for your physical, to get some medicines if you got a few minor conditions. But if you actually have a problem, number one, it doesn't get taken care of well. It gets delayed.
They
which
tell you
hurts
who your doctors are going to be. They tell you where where you have to go, who the list of doctors are that you can choose from their roster, as opposed to, like, I live in Wilmington and this is the endocrinologist. I'm a cancer survivor. I had thyroid cancer. And this is a trusted endocrinologist. Can I just go to this guy? Well, no, you have to go through them. I mean, when I got out of the Marine Corps and moved down here, I went to the VA as a veteran, and then once I got a full-time job, I immediately was like, put me on Blue Cross Blue Shield, because, I didn't want to deal with
not to have
you have to go to Fayetteville every time there's something. Well, now we have one in Wilmington, but back in 2008 when I got out of the Marine Corps, they didn't it was Fayetteville was your choice. And there's a little what do you call it? Like a little clinic, and there's always 30 people waiting hours and hours. I mean, I tried a few things, like getting my medication and getting prescriptions and different stuff, and it was just like, it was awful. And now you look at the backlog that's
when the government gets involved, that is not just going to be for the under 10 million people that are using the VA system.
Your choices
it's going
get
to be
limited.
300 million people. So imagine how much worse it's going to be.
Right.
And that's part of the problem. It's the VA, we have veterans waiting 18 months to get their health care claims processed, which is a real shame. The people who allow us to have a town hall meeting have to wait that long.
Right.
So, well, we'll be back with just another segment of Political Pulse. We'll continue talking to Jude after the break. You're listening to the new 106.7 FM My Talker Radio. Welcome to Political Pulse. I'm Dr. Tony Maglione. You're listening to the new 106.7 FM My Talker Radio. The number here is 833-8764. I'm here with Jude Eden, who has organized a town hall meeting to defund Obamacare next Tuesday evening at 6 o'clock at the library on Military Cutoff Road. And I just want to ask you, because some people may want to know how to get in touch with you, or how to know more about the town hall meeting. Do you have some blogs or emails?
Yep. I'm a conservative blogger, writer, and people can go to politicalanimalblog.com, and there's actually the piece that's right up top on front of the page is NC7 Grassroots to hold Obamacare Town Hall, August 27th. So you can see the details there. If you want to email me, you can at defundobamacare@gmail.com. And you can follow me on Twitter. I'm Jude_Eden on Twitter. Happy to have new readership and new followers, and to get connected with conservatives around our area here.
There are times when you just have to stand up as a nation and be the right type of leader and do what's right.
It can be hard, but we do have to stand up, and people should realize that, you're not alone. And sometimes it takes just a voice out there. That's why, I don't mean to take credit for this whole town hall thing. It's not just me. Like, I, made that first phone call, the first couple of phone calls.
Somebody's got to light the match,
but then I
going.
got together with a couple of friends, their fellow Heritage Action Sentinels, and, it lit fire from there.
I thought it was a great idea.
Yeah. And these things, once you start something, and if you stand up, you might have opposition, but you'll also, start to see that people will gather, people will support you, and people will say, they look to a strong voice to,
it's
say,
right,
that's
it's the right
I
thing
think
to do.
Too.
This law is going to hurt a lot of people. Well, that was a great show. And the whole point is we want people to show up, show their enthusiasm and their passion at the town hall meeting this Tuesday night at 6 o'clock. And
if I could say one thing, if
ahead.
you can't make the meeting, do call Mike McIntyre, call Senator Hagan, call Senator Burr, talk to your representative in your district,
Tell 'em
and
how you
tell
feel.
them to defund Obamacare.
Well, thank you again. You've been listening to Political Pulse. This is Dr. Tony Maglione, the new 106.7 FM My Talker Radio. We'll be back Monday where we'll talk about Obamacare and the young and how if you're a spouse, you may lose your insurance in a lot of companies. Thanks to our producer, Megan. Have a great weekend, everybody.